Okay, welcome everyone. I hope you had your dinner or breakfast or whatever it is in your time zone. And I'm so happy to be with you today. And thanks for making the time to come on a Friday night and be part of this workshop. I would love for you to participate as much as you can. If you can't show yourself, you could write things in chat. Or if you can show yourself and your object even briefly, that would be great. So my workshop today is about creating or crafting um, stories and harvesting heirlooms. And I have some examples of heirlooms in this slide. But of course, there is no limit to your imagination because each one may have a different object or an item or an artifact or a memory that you consider an heirloom. So I think I'm going to keep it really open. There are no limitations or restrictions today. I would like you to just share and be part of this experience. And hopefully, you will come up with something that is quite valuable to you by the end of this, which means that you will hopefully come up with a memory and a narrative around it. And I want to actually start out by introducing myself. I am a docent and a storyteller at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco. I just stumbled upon this about 6-7 years ago, and then got into this whole magical world of storytelling. And I was glued to Eric's, I think it was 2020, was it, Eric? You had the day and night storytelling when COVID hit, and that really exposed me to all the different possibilities beyond the museum, where I was primarily telling folk tales and myths to school children who would come in, on their field trips. Now, as I was showing them the different artifacts in the museum, of course, we have, priceless 3,000, 4,000-year old artifacts from all over Asia. I started thinking, what about crafting narratives around our own, valuable and priceless objects, right? We don't have museum quality things, but what we have is sometimes even more priceless than what you would find at the museum because we have a personal connection with them. So I got to, thinking about that. And then I came up with this idea of doing, narratives. And actually, I was really, really impressed that. There were so many possibilities, right? We can write, we can get really creative. And what got me really thinking about this was, during COVID, a group of us storytellers from the Asian Art Museum, we started meeting, and we started uh, meeting on Zoom every week, and we would come up with a story. And most of them were personal narratives. And Nancy, who was part of that group, is here today. And so that gave me an incentive to really write, because before that, I'd been kind of a lazy writer. I wasn't writing, I was just, telling folk tales and things that were already available. But now I really wanted to write and get my work critiqued by our very supportive group of people. So I got really, into it. And I started writing narratives. Somebody's just asking me for a link. So I'm going to quickly send that link to a friend who says she doesn't have the link. Okay, so we'll hopefully have one more participant. So as I started doing that, I was so interested in hearing other people's stories as well, their own personal narratives. There was so much history and culture, and we learned about each other because we were a very diverse group. There were people, even in that small group, there was one from of Armenian descent, and then a couple of Caucasians, and and an Asian, and me, of course. So it was so interesting to hear these stories. And I thought, I think this is my favorite genre in personal narratives, where you hear about people's origins and their culture. And that intrigued me more than anything else. So soon I really got into it. And I thought, one day I was actually going on the local train wearing my mask and everything, because it was still COVID. And I saw a lady sitting in front of me, and she had this very unique hair color. It was a mix between magenta and purple. And it reminded me instantly of the bindi that my grandmother used to wear. It was that exact same color. The bindi is the big dot on the forehead, right? That Hindu women wear. And and instantly that triggered a memory for me. And I also went home and I opened this, can you see this little container made out of silver that my grandmother had given me. And when I peeped in, it had remnants of that color, of that kumkum, what we call kumkum. It's actually powdered, fragrant petals, and it's made out of things like that. And then that triggered a story. And I started writing this because I had to submit a story for our little group. And all the memories came flooding back. And I had a very, very deep connection with my grandmother, though she had passed away in 2000. But I grew up, she was very much part of my life. And then I looked at this really closely, and I saw that it was shaped like a lotus. And my grandmother's name was Sarojini, which is associated with the lotus, which is a very special and auspicious flower, both in the Hindu and the Buddhist tradition. And we always saw these lotuses in the museum, gods and goddesses and Buddhas would sit on the lotus, and some would be holding a lotus. So the lotus had a very special significance. So one thing led to the other. And I would like to share this story with you about my grandmother's bindi. So here we go. I'm going to give you a short version of it so that you can tell me what you think about it and what kind and whether you resonate with any of it. So my grandmother's name was Sarojini, and she was born pre-independence in India, and she belonged to a large family, but she was probably the most uh, what do you say, outgoing and beautiful of all her siblings. At least I thought so when I looked at the vintage pictures. And I always remember my grandmother having this big dot on her forehead, even bigger than this one that I'm wearing today. And as I grew up, I spent a lot of time with her in Chennai. And even 2 years, I even lived with her because my parents had to go to another city. And I remember she used to braid my hair in two perfect braids fastened with yellow ribbons. She would put on my school uniform. I went to a Catholic school, but she would always place a little bindi on my forehead. And this was a bindi that was made out of a liquidy, red thing that we call chand in Tamil. And but then I was fascinated by her bindi because she used this powder, from a little container like this, and she would fasten it on her forehead, and it would stay throughout the day despite Chennai's humidity where everybody's sweating. But I was fascinated that it always stayed on her forehead. In fact, I don't remember seeing her without that bindi at all. And she attached a lot of importance to it because she grew up in the generation where they believed that women always had to wear the bindi, especially married women. And somehow the bindi seemed to ensure them that they would be sumangalis, which is a Tamil word for bride forever, meaning that they would not be widowed. And that was my grandmother's wish. She had gotten married at 16 to this young debonair lawyer. It was an arranged marriage, of course. And she, at 17, she had my mother. And my grandpa was a wonderful husband to her. So they stopped with two children so that they would have a good quality of life. And then what happened was, very soon I was born, right? Because my mother, when she was in her early 20s, she had me. So I was the oldest granddaughter and my grandmother's pet, as if I may say so myself. And so we had a very close bond, and I used to watch her and wonder. And she was not that well educated. She stopped with what they called SSLC, which is probably like 11th grade here. But she started, she became very empowered. And when I saw her, she was in control of the entire household and advising my grandfather. And so they had a really good marriage. And as the years went by, I too got married early, and I crossed the dark waters to come to America. I was one of the first girls in my family to leave home and go so far away. But when I left, my grandmother not only gave me her recipes, but she also gave me this, with the kumkum in it, which is the powder. And, I thought this was very special. And I said, Grandma, why are you giving me this? You should keep it. She said, No, 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 you will remember me by it. Whenever you look at it, you will remember me. So over the next few decades, whenever I went to India, she would give me something or the other, a little silver thing, a copper thing, or, and everything I brought back, because those days we had a lot of luggage allowance, and I even brought big vessels and all kinds of things. And I got really sentimental about it. And my grandmother would always say, take it, take it, take it, and go. You're going to such a faraway place. And, uh, so this was part of the healing for me, to look at these objects and to think that, oh, my grandmother gave this to me, and, it's something really special. Well, as life went on, I took my children back home every other summer, and she would do the same thing, braid their hair and put the bindi on their forehead and tell them stories. And so this thing continued until both my grandparents became really ill towards the end of the century. And my grandmother, was not as ill as my grandfather. So we always thought that my grandfather would pass away first. And he was, after all, 9 years older than her. But, her wish was granted to not be widowed, because incredibly, she died first. And a month later, my grandfather passed away. And so I think the gods heard her and heard her prayers. And both her sisters had been widowed early in life, and she didn't want to be one of those, because widows were not treated well at that time. And, they were not allowed to even forget about remarrying, even to, be very progressive. So, for her, it was a big deal to not be widowed, and her wish was granted. So every time I look at this, I remember my grandmother and how steadfast she was. And this indeed has been a big inspiration. And I wrote the story. It was, of course, much longer, and it actually got published in a humanities magazine. And I was, for the first time ever, given an honorarium for that. So this little bindi container turned out to be, my good luck charm. And I was so happy, that it brought all these memories. And what actually triggered it was, even before that, when I saw that lady with the, that hair color sitting in the train before, right in front of me. So one thing leads to the other. So that's the example I want to give you all today. And as we all work together to come up with some stories that are maybe inspired by an object or a beautiful heirloom that you have right with you now. So I would like to share one more slide before I ask you to do a little show and tell of, what you may have with you. So here we go. I have. Okay, now what is really an heirloom? Can you all share with me? What is your definition of an heirloom? Who wants to go first? Yeah, just speak up. This is such a small group. So do you think it's more than just an object? Do you agree that it bridges generations? It's part of our legacy. But what do you consider an heirloom? And if you can show us, an heirloom that you have brought today, that will be great. So I'm going to get out of this. And here is my, the little, I have a few that I put up over here. From my grandmother's. The middle Krishna is also like an antique painting that my other grandmother gave me. And then there is this spice jar, spice containers, which we called Anjanapatti in Tamil, where my grandmother actually used it. So when I see this, I'm reminded of her kitchen and all the lovely, yummy food she used to cook. So I'm hanging on to all this, triggering all these beautiful memories. So let me get out of this and have you all um, share something that you brought to the table today. Yes, Karen, do you want to show your necklace again?
Sure. So,
And can you spotlight her, Eric, please?
So here, I'll just show this to you here.
Okay.
So it's interesting. I don't know if you can see this
Yes,
necklace here.
it's a butterfly.
So it's interesting for me that you have heirlooms from your grandmother, because I never knew any of my grandparents. Your grandmother had your mother young, and my mother was 47 and my dad was 53 when I was born. So my parents were older, and so I don't have grandparents. So for me, an heirloom starts with my parents, not with my grandparents, because also I I don't have many items. I'm trying to think what I have. I don't have many items from my grandparents because I never knew them, so they don't carry the same weight. But this necklace is very special to me, and it's special to me because I mentioned that my mother was 47 when I was born, and she told me that the first outing that she made with me after she had me was to a jewelry store to buy this necklace, because she said that giving birth to me made her feel like a butterfly. And she said it was a metamorphosis for her to have a child at age 47. When my siblings, I have 5 older brothers and sisters, when they didn't even find out from my mother that she was pregnant, they found out from the neighbor. And they came home and they said, "Mom, it can't be true. Are you having a baby?" And she said, "Yes." And no one believed her, none of her friends, nobody that she had of her generation, and no one was having a child at age 47. So it was very unique. So this necklace is very special to me.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a beautiful story. And, and you wear it a lot?
I do wear it a lot, yes. I do wear it, and people often comment and ask me where I got it and what is the story behind it, and that is the story behind it. So when I wear it, it connects me with my mom, and it makes me feel like a butterfly.
That's great. Yeah, it doesn't have to, the heirloom doesn't have to go back many, generations. It can just be from your parents, So it's wonderful that you shared this with us. So would anybody else like to show something or even talk about something? Yes, Manjari? Yes.
So this is what my granddaughter painted for me on my birthday. And it's something very precious to me because she made it herself. She not store bought, and it triggers back memories of when my parents, when it was my birthday. Suppose it was my 9th birthday, they would put 9 presents, and I would wake up eagerly to see what they had bought. And not everything was store bought. Something was maybe a sweater which my mother knitted, or like that. Rest maybe have been store bought. And my grandmother too would give something on my birthday, but that would be probably some, piece of jewelry which she had, which she wanted to give me. So all these I consider very lucky and auspicious, and keep them very carefully.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah.
lovely. And it's good that it triggers that beautiful memory from the past. So till what age were you getting like the numbers, number of gifts to coincide with your actual years?
I would say maybe 10.
10. Okay. That's a
Yeah,
good
or maybe
number.
little older, I don't remember, but yeah, or maybe 16, I don't know, I don't think so.
Okay. Because at 50 would be good, right? To keep.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And your granddaughter seems to be very artistic. So
Yes.
that's lovely.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have some people who are not on screen, but if you would you like to come and show your beautiful selves and tell us a little bit? Yes, Rachel, I see you.
What I have is something that my granddaughter also made. It
Ah,
is a book of mandalas,
oh,
mandalot in Hebrew.
okay.
And she colored in some of these pictures.
Oh,
Well, you can't.
lovely.
So there's a whole book full. And what I decided to do was to fill in the parts she did not color.
Mm.
And then when I'm through with this, I will send it back to my granddaughter in Israel and see what she thinks of it. So it feels like it's a joint project. And she she lives in a very Orthodox community, so they
Mm-hmm.
don't use computers.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I don't see her on Zoom.
Mm.
And there's a big time difference, and I don't get to talk to her that often. So this is a way that I feel that I can communicate through art and feel close. And she's given me something, and I want to give her. She um, filled in all but one mandala, and asked me to fill in that one. And after I did, I thought to myself, well, she has a very restrained, sort of classical taste in her art. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm much more into color and exuberance.
Mm.
And so we're expressing both of our personalities through this art. And I asked her if she minded that I, would
Share
draw more.
it. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And she said no. And originally, I wanted to get to a store and Xerox them and have variations on a
Mm.
theme, but I never did. But it is so relaxing to color, and I love
Mm-hmm.
color. And every time I do it, I think of her and my whole
That's
family in Israel.
That's wonderful. What a precious thing this is, and it's such a close bond between you and your granddaughter. Though you're not in the same physical location, I think this is a wonderful gift that, you can both share. So that's
And the
great. Thank
last
you.
the
Mm-hmm.
last time I saw her, she was 2 years old, and she's now 21.
Oh, wow.
So I don't get to see her in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So
But you share this beautiful art,
yes.
that's really nice. Yes. Okay, so let's see. Anybody else? Malti, do you want to share something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very briefly.
Okay.
I'm speaking to you from Bangalore in India, and you've seen my place, Rupa.
Yes.
I have several brass vessels that I inherited from my grandmother. And in those days, they used to actually cook with these brass vessels.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, we don't cook with brass vessels anymore. We've got, stainless steel and all the rest of it. But I love them as beautiful antiques in my home. And I'm going to show you one of them. I don't know if you can see
Okay,
it.
that'll be, yes, it's
Yeah,
beautiful. Sure. Yeah.
yeah. And this was, gravy was poured into this, and it was like a serving dish for me. And it's so
Oh.
precious to me, all of these brass pots and pans, and it connects me not just to my grandmother, my mother, and my grandmother, but to a tradition, a long legacy, and to know that they cooked the same foods in perhaps different containers, but the very same diet. It
Mm.
just sends a thrill to me, through me. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, your house is full of these beautiful artifacts, and you have kept them so well. You have really
Thank
given
you.
them so much love and respect, which is, I think, very important when it comes to heirlooms. They could be gathering dust somewhere in some storeroom, but you have really, treated
Because
treated them
I
well.
feel privileged. I feel privileged to own them, and I hope they outlast me, and they're valued by future generations.
Mhm. That's a great point, because this is what we want to do, right? We may be accused of being too sentimental or hoarding things, but I don't care. I'm going to
Uh-huh.
hang on to my what I consider heirlooms that I have brought over the last 45 years from India, slowly, collected them and somehow hung on to them. So I want to, do my best to maintain them like you have, Malti. So thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful.
Sure,
So
sure. I'm
let's,
enjoying it.
yeah, it's so nice. And since I've seen seen your objects, it's even more special. Yes, Eric. Eric is raising
Yes,
his hand. Yes.
yes. This is a nutcracker. You
Ah,
put the nut in the mouth, and you crush the nut. And this
wow,
nutcracker was given to me by my mother, who passed away 35 years ago.
wow.
And it's a nutcracker associated with the ballet, the Nutcracker,
Uh huh.
because the Nutcracker plays an important part in the ballet, which is done every Christmas in the ballet world.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother was a figure in the dance world. The year I was born, she became editor of Dance Magazine,
Wow.
which at that time, 1957, was the only national dance publication in the USA. And she
Mm-hmm.
held that position until I was 13 years old. And so she took me to dance performances all the time. She herself in her youth had been a dancer and had a company in the field of modern dance, which
Hmm.
was, for those of you who know, it was sort of a rebellion against the formality of ballet. So yeah, so this Nutcracker reminds me of my mother
Mm-hmm.
and her place in the dance world and how she took me to dance performances.
Oh, that's so precious. Is it made out of metal, Eric?
No, it's wood.
Oh, it's wood. Okay, okay. Wow. It's very unusual. Huh? That's lovely. And do you still use it to crack nuts?
No,
Okay.
it's good for almonds, and the almonds that I
Uh-huh.
get here in Chennai, the shell is already cracked.
Okay, okay. That's lovely. Thank you. And thank you for sharing memories of your mother and her legacy, which is
Mhm.
really important and so precious. So, yeah, I think Banu wants to share. Actually, if you turn your phone or device the other way, we could see more of you. Yes.
If I go ahead and tamper with that now, it may throw me out. And I
Okay,
had a
okay.
tough
Let's
time to
not.
get
Yeah.
in.
Okay.
So yeah, I
Yeah, why
should have.
don't you share? Yeah, please share what you have.
Just wanted to tell you
Mm-hmm.
this is I have my grandmother's stuff which I didn't bring, which was when I was really young. She used to have a little cradle in her puja room or the puja bureau, and puja is the worship, okay, and there she had a little cradle with a little small idol of Krishna, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And she had some gold. I didn't know it was gold, but I really liked some pendants. I said, oh, this is really good. I really like it. I don't know, when my grandfather died, whatever she thought, she gave me two of them, which I really liked. One a Krishna pendant, other one is a Venkatachalamurti pendant. And they are said the Krishna one, my grandson took it. He wanted to wear it in his chain. And the other one, I have it. That's from my grandmother. And she gave me some vessels. Those are here. But then my mother, who taught us, all of us, when I was probably 5, 6 years old, and she used to teach all of us, whoever was interested. One brother was interested, and we sisters were interested. She used to show how to make baskets, the 3-tier baskets where we put vegetables, whatever. And then in the basket made of copper wire or steel wire.
Wow.
with pardon me?
No, I said wonderful. I've not seen
Yeah,
those baskets.
with the little beads, like a beige, like off-white color. The shape was like the conch or the seashells, and we used to make them, but I don't have any of those things yet now. And she used to teach us how to make baskets and like a plate type of thing with the banana bark. How they cure it. Those are very nice, the way they cure the barks. The banana plant, whatever you call it, we call it varapata, but I don't know what in the equivalent English.
Banana fiber, you think?
No, I think it is a whole
The
thing.
bark.
Yeah, put it up on top of the roof with all the sun and the
Oh, the
rain.
thatch. Okay.
And then we will make it into small strings and then do all these things. And then, I don't want to take too much time of yours. My mother was great in making all these things.
Wow.
With a wire, this is a plastic wire.
The plastic, yeah.
Yeah, she gave me all these things and taught us how to do it too. These are all after I came here and older. By the way, my name is Banu Ranganathan. I live in California, not too far from Rupa's house. Okay.
Yes.
So the thing is, she has given me, she used to make with this little parrot. Can you see it?
Yeah. So pretty.
All with this, this is like a door thing you can put it. Okay.
Hang it up. Yeah.
And she made too many things. I have too many things of her. Okay. Like a garland. These are all made out of plastic wires. Okay. I wish I had been in the landscape mode, but I'm in the portrait mode. And all these.
Wow.
The
amazing thing is you have you have collected these things and kept them carefully. And, so they are precious heirlooms, So I think that's very much part of what we do as storytellers. We collect these things and, we hang on to them and we tell about them. So that's the
use
point.
Them also. I have used them
and you
also
use them
my
too.
Golu time. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, all those kind of memories, and now I have to think about what I'm going to do with that. Whoever wants it, I have to give it to them.
Yes. You have to pass it on to somebody who will, preserve these memories. So Usha had something to say. Usha?
This too. One more thing. This is made out of
amazing.
Ice cream sticks.
Amazing.
Ice cream sticks. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Usha, you're muted, Usha. Usha, you're still muted. Eric, can you unmute her? Oh, can't hear you. Wait, let me try sending her a message. Okay.
Yes, yes, I
Good. Now we can
managed.
hear you,
Yeah,
Usha.
I'm sorry, I'm in the car.
That's
What
okay.
a beautiful exercise. I want to say two things. One is about the cookery book, which actually my grandmother left me, Samaitapar, Cook and See.
Ah,
I have not carried it, and that's my go to for every South Indian delicacy, whether it be a savory or a sweet dish. And even during festivals and holy occasions, I refer to that. It's my Bible. And the
mm,
other relic is the bommais, the toys, the golu bommais left to me that belong to my mother. I still
mhm.
preserve and care for it. So that's my two bit from me, Rupa. So
That's wonderful. The lovely sharing. Because thank you for calling in from the car, and it's so nice to hear from you. Thank you. Those are very very precious. All the Golu things and whatever, because they're breakable too, right? They're so we have to be very careful handling them. So let's, Bhavya, do you have anything to share? And you have to unmute. I'd like to hear from the younger generation as well, because they're all mostly minimalist these days. So I don't know what
We
they're going to
really
do with
are.
heirlooms.
Can you
Yes.
hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Bhavya, yes,
Okay.
I can hear. Yeah.
Hi. Hey, Mom. So, yeah, I think it's hard, especially like a lot of us don't have very much space, and move a lot, and so there isn't room for much heirloom and much collection. But I think so. This really points to small things having a lot of value and being precious and meaningful. So I have this it's like a little brass lizard. And this actually, to tie together the stories, the grandma that my mom talked about, this used to sit in her house. And when I was little, I would think it looked exactly like the real lizards that like climbed on the walls. And it was always my dream to have one of those lizards as a pet. So I wanted this little guy. And so the last time I visited India, my mom's mom, so my grandma, who had received the lizard from her mother, gave it to me. So it's very precious and small, and I can have it with me. And uh, it's my favorite little heirloom. So it's a good one.
That's great. Thank you. And this reminds you of the lizards that used to find in Chennai, right? Over the walls.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. So
Exactly.
that has some fond memories, since you are fond of little creatures. So that's really nice. And anybody else would like to share? We have some people who are not on camera, but you're welcome to share or even put it in chat if you have some heirloom that you want to tell us about. Um, Rachel or Emily or, Viveka, Anjana, Kanakadurga. Okay, we'll give you a little more time because I wanted to take you through some exercises, some simple things. So let me do another screen share and come up with some slides. Okay, so it is so nice to hear about your precious heirlooms. Now let's today actually I wanted to explore with you what heirlooms are. And I think from this exercise, we learned that heirlooms can be many things that are really precious to you. And they can also be something that you are creating, like the lady created with her grandchild. And then what are the cultural and emotional layers, that you find when you're sharing heirlooms? And then we are going to be moving from memory to meaning to narrative, and hopefully you will leave today's workshop with an idea for a short story or even an outline that you can build later. So that's my goal for you today, and I hope you can leave this workshop with something. Viveka, I see you. Is there anything you want to share?
Yes, I'm trying to get to a quieter spot.
Okay.
I
Okay.
it would actually be, and I'm going to turn my camera back off. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to turn my
Okay.
camera back. Oh gosh, I went to a noisier place. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We can hear
I'm
you
going to
well,
turn my
Viveka.
I'm going to turn my camera off so that you can see mine again.
Okay. Okay.
That is a picture of my my grandmother. She's the little girl in the picture.
Okay.
She was born 1906. I estimate she was probably anywhere between 4 and 6 years old in that picture. That's her mother standing behind her, and her grandparents seated on either side of her. So the things that I cherish are things that are tied to my family's history on both sides of the family. I don't know if I would guess all of you understand that, you know, in the US, those of us who descended from enslaved people, much of our history was destroyed, you know, records and everything. And so anything that ties to that is precious to me.
Yes, yes, indeed, very precious. And it's remarkable that you have this photograph, right? Because many of the records were destroyed. And thank you for sharing this. This is indeed, you know, a wonderful piece of your history and your family. And it's really very precious. Thank you, Viveka. It's really nice. And have you been able to like frame it and keep it so it doesn't deteriorate?
Haven't been. That's actually a copy that was passed along to me. And so at some point I hope to print a decent copy of it and get it framed. But for right now, it's
okay.
For right now, it's not framed.
Okay, but but it's good. It's in good shape, you know, considering it
Yes.
must be how many years old do you think?
I'm sorry?
How old do you think it is, this photograph?
That's what I was saying. I think the picture is anywhere from 1910 to 1912 because my grandmother was born 1906, and I think she's 4 to 6 years old in that picture.
Okay, wonderful. So, yeah, over 115 years old, right? That's remarkable, remarkable. Because those pictures I have seen from my grandparents, they get holes in them, you know, they get eaten by insects. And so it's very hard to preserve them. And you have done a good job. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And now let's go on to a little more of what we can do with stories and how we can, you know, craft these stories. So I want you to, when we look at objects, you know, that we may inherit, heirlooms. First of all, you know, it's nice to look at the physical attributes, like, you know, what does it look like, what does it feel like, what is the current condition, and do you actually possess it, or is it just a memory, you know, of an object that might have been in your own old ancestral house, but it's no longer there, but you have a vivid memory of that. So that would be enough for you to start thinking about a story around it. And then also, you know, you go into the history of this and the provenance, as we say at the museum, you know. So what was the origin of this? Who really owned it? Why was it given to you? Why were you, you know, the favored recipient of this? Did you actually inherit it? Did your grandparent or somebody actually give it to you? Or was it part of, you know, when things were being sold off in your house, in your old home, did you just go and pick it up? And when did you get it? You know, like somebody mentioned that she got a gift, you know, on her birthday, several gifts from her grandparents, and Karen got a butterfly. So, you know, what was the special occasion that is connected to this? So those are very good things to think about when you are crafting your story. And you know, I wanted to also get into the actual writing of the story, because we have all these ideas, we have objects, or heirlooms, as I like to call them. Now, which one do you select? You know, which one do you start writing about which one brings you that beautiful story that would be interesting to people in your family and as well as friends or others. Because when I did my story about my granny's bindi, I was like, oh, who's going to understand this? You know, in America, my friends are not, many of my friends are not Indian. Do they even know about the bindi? Will it resonate with any of them? Those were my questions when I started writing the story. But soon I found out that with a little bit of explanation, a little bit of elaboration, it could make sense. It could make sense, and people could relate to other things that may have been, may have had importance to their grandparents, like maybe even a lipstick that a grandmother, liked a particular color of lipstick, or a particular jewelry she liked, or a little container that she gave. I mean, so these things don't have to conform to us or be within a certain culture. These have universal, metaphors. They have universal significance. So when I wrote that, and it was it was like appreciated by other people, I realized that stories are personal narratives, regardless of where we were born or where we come from, can be interesting if they are presented, with simplicity and not assuming that people know everything. So we just have to make sure that that's how they crafted. So I'm going to take you to another page here and show you something else that I came up with. So actually the crafting of the narrative. So it's not just the object alone doesn't make the story, the memory alone doesn't make the story. So it is a fusion of these two that actually ends up being a very interesting narrative. So here are some building blocks that I would like to suggest that you think about. So first of all, what kind of memories, are triggered by that? It could be happy or sad. Doesn't matter. If you don't want to go into the sad memories, stay away from that heirloom and pick up something else, that has more pleasant memories. Then who are the people associated with this? Like in my case, I did stories about both my grandmothers. They were the primary heroines of my stories. So, but of course, the grandpas also came in now and then, they were mentioned. But the primary people were the grandmothers. Now, what does this artifact stand for, right? In my case, this bindi thing was not just a container. It was more than that. First of all, it reminded me of my grandmother's name. And secondly, it held something that was very precious to her, the powder that she wore on her forehead, and somehow seemed to think that was associated with my grandfather's longevity. Now, how do you feel about this now? I inherited this about 40 years ago, but what am I feeling now? I think it's also more precious to me right now as I get older, and my grandmother has been long gone, but this is becoming more and more special, and I want to hang on to it. And now, has this witnessed any family history? Yes, of course. All these heirlooms have been witnesses, right? If you want to do something from the perspective of these heirlooms, go for it. You can do that. You can also create a beautiful narrative from that. Now, actually, when it comes to refining these stories, we have to probably keep in mind a few things. Like as storytellers, we learn that we have to follow a story arc, right? You start with something, you go to another place, and then you come back, like how I started with this with the bindi, and then I finally ended up with the bindi coming to me, with this container coming to me. And then you want to build some suspense and tension, if possible, not in a negative way, but in a positive way, if you like what happened to my grandmother, at the end, who was going to outlive the other, that might be something that would be interesting to the audience. And then, of course, I always believe in keeping everything simple and short, maybe 10 to 15 minutes maximum. And then, can people resonate with it? That was, of course, my big concern. And then, you find ways that you can make it simple and have people appreciate it. Now, what is the story really about? Was it just about a bindi kumkum holder, or was it more than that? So, what would you say, my story was about? If you would like to put it in chat, capture it, like what was the essence of the story, right? What were the things that you found out about maybe my life and my grandmother's life, as you heard this very short story? Do you want to speak up or put it in chat? I'm going to get out of this so I can see you all. Yeah. Any reactions? So what were the other underlying layers, in the story beyond the artifact? Yeah, have you all? Yeah. So I was actually thinking about it, and I came up with some answers myself. So I don't know if you agree with me, but it was, yeah, I see something from Karen. Let's see what this is. About the importance of a custom, yes, the tradition of wearing the bindi and how it was passed down. Yes, very good. Thank you. Any other reactions or things you learned about my life and my grandmother's life from this? Thank you, Karen. That was a good one. Yes, Karen?
So I'll chime in. I learned that your grandmother got married young and you got married young. And I
Yes.
learned that your grandmother had an arranged marriage. And the thoughts that she had about her marriage were something I'd not ever thought of before, is that she did not want to be a widow. And it made me want to learn more about how widows are treated in India.
Mm-hmm.
I had never heard of that before, about a widow not being treated right, or something that she feared, being a widow. So that piqued my curiosity, and just what the custom is. I don't know much about a bindi. I see the bindi, but I don't know what it means, or
Mm-hmm.
or I want to know more about it. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know what. One of the things I wondered is the little container that you have that has the pigment.
Yeah.
Is it the pigment that makes the spot, or do you buy like a sticker of some
Yeah.
kind? And is that stuff in that container, is it more like a glue? So, like, I don't know anything, and it's the kind of thing that you don't know, you don't ask, like you don't know
Yeah.
anybody to ask. So I want to know more about that. What, like,
That's
how,
good.
and also, how long do you wear the bindi for? And do you wear it, like, if you go swimming or to the beach or something, if it washes off, do you put another one on? How long does it stay on? Do you sleep in it? So I don't know. I don't know any of these things. So those piqued my curiosity.
Oh, that's great. And I can tell you that it's so interesting to hear, of your questions, because indeed that because of the passage of time, this powder now has become a sticker that, is easy to wear, but it doesn't have the properties, the fragrance and all those that came with the powder. That was very special. I can still smell that, from my grandmother's old, because those days it was very pure, right? These powders were made out of flower petals and things like that. And yeah, I think she wore it to bed. She wore it all the time. I've never seen her without it, even when she took a bath, she would quickly go and put it on like that. So she really believed in because in the Hindu tradition, it's considered a very sacred, some people say it's a third eye, and it's like, at a very important part of the forehead. And it is a mark that of married women. So Yeah, so these are really interesting questions. And that is the whole, I would like to um, see, it's, such curiosity come up, with my stories, right? Even if you can't resonate with something, if you're curious about it and you want to explore, then I feel like I've succeeded to some extent as a storyteller, because it's so nice to learn about each other's cultures, right? Like you told me about your mom and your musical instruments in your workshop. That was such a lovely learning experience. I would rather hear it directly from you than go read it in a book. So it was really good. And Banu has written that every time you see it, you remember to follow her tradition and footsteps without forgetting. Yes, very true. And personally, when I came to this country, I was shy about wearing the bindi because I wanted to assimilate, right? I didn't want to stick out. So, and somehow we had this thing in our head, even in India, when you wear Western clothes, you don't wear this. It somehow doesn't go with Western clothes. So, for many years, I didn't wear it except when I would be in the comfort of, an Indian home or be with my Indian friends. And, but now with getting older and wiser, I want to continue this tradition, and to a large extent I'm kind of bravely wearing them much more, even when I go on public transportation sometimes, because I feel like I need to. And my grandmother always said we look prettier with this bindi on, so that was part of it. They would say that you're complete. It's like wearing makeup for us. We didn't wear other makeup except for bindi and some eye, some kohl in the eyes. So that was considered, a sign of beauty and good grooming. So, yeah, so the bindi has a lot more significance. But nowadays, the young people don't necessarily want to wear it. But in her generation, it was a very important part of her makeup and a daily ritual. And Mami, you want to say something? Yeah, Banu? Yeah. Oh, Anjana, good to hear that. You wear your bindi all the time. Lovely. You can show yourself to us if you don't mind, if you're wearing the bindi. Banu, you are muted, Banu. Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to add on to that. No matter where you are, Rupa, and no matter where we are, if you follow your traditions and if you put your bindi, if you go with your sari, people appreciate. I'm in this country for 55 years in the United States. Day one onwards, I have been, those days when we came, not too many Indians were here. In 1971, you don't see too many Indians. But I always wore that. I went to college, I wore my sari and my long hair and my bindi, went to work with a small bindi. But of course, I didn't know what to wear, so I moved to Western clothes. Now, after retiring, I'm always, a Roopa knows, I'm always wearing this bindi. I drive the car and go to shopping, doctors. Nobody bothers. People really appreciate it. So we don't have to be shy. This is our tradition, right? Everybody follows their tradition. So I always think, now that I have so many accumulated saris, so I wear them all the time and people really comment on it or they don't bother me. So it's okay, right?
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. Anjana wants to say something.
Hi.
Yes,
Hi.
show us your bindi. Are you wearing one?
All the time.
Okay, I see it. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small one. So when I just wanted to share a small anecdote. When I was in UK, so we had gone to the temple, and me and my husband, we were in the temple, and then there was a there were two girls, very little girls, and then she just came to me and said, "What is that dot on your forehead?" That was the expression. What is the
Yeah.
dot on your forehead? You know? But yeah, I mean, sorry, I couldn't get to get the respected lady's name. But what I understand is when I was in UK, I mean, I wear with my jeans, with my, with my Indian dresses and even with skirts. So nobody bothered when I was
That's
in
good.
UK.
That's
It is normal. I mean, I think she was right. They appreciate it. I have been appreciated that way.
That's very good to hear, because there was a phase in the, I think, 1980s there was this anti-immigrant sentiment here in
Hmm.
especially on the East Coast, and there were
Right.
some gangs of young kids called dot busters, you know.
I
So
see.
remember, Manjari, I don't know if you heard from here, and
Yes,
people,
yes,
so
I remember.
that put some fear in us, because it was happening, in the US. So we were, it might have been just one or two incidents, but we enough to rattle us a little bit, and we didn't. That's why we kind of stayed away from that. But now the
I,
good thing is, even in India, people are. I mean, young women choose not to wear it. It doesn't, and
yes,
there
yes,
is no
yes.
thing
I
about
know.
the widows not wearing. You can wear
Yeah.
whatever you want. So
Hmm.
it's a good symbol of I think liberation. People can choose to wear it or not to wear it. So we don't have those taboos and limitations like this person can wear, this cannot wear. So that is the one thing that I feel is very progressive now, right? So
I
Anjana,
wa
yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to add one more thing. I forgot the name of the contestant who was the
Uh-huh.
first woman from India to walk the beauty pageant,
Mm-hmm.
international beauty pageant. That was way back in 1960s. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. So she had worn a bindi with a swimming suit.
Oh, okay. With the swimsuit. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, with a swimsuit.
That's
Yeah, she had
progress.
one.
Yeah.
Correct. And even the gajra was there on her as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the thing is, we can craft many stories just around this
Mm,
bindi and traditions like this, and
correct, correct.
there's always some heirloom associated with it, like a
Mm,
container, or even those, they used to have little like long silver things that you would make a long bindi with, like. And so there are so many things that we can accumulate, even if they are not big items. Even these small things can tell you big stories, depending on how you
mm.
craft these stories. And it can give an insight to others about the culture and the heritage, which I think is so important to preserve, especially, we've come as immigrants, and we don't want our future generations to completely lose their heritage, right? So um, what about any other insights, any other traditions that are associated with artifacts that you would like to share with us? Um, Please do so. This is a good opportunity to share in a very intimate setting. And I think, because we all have so many stories in us, and everybody can be a storyteller. That's my belief. You don't have to go to these, to get trained or go to school to become a storyteller. I think we all have stories waiting to be told, and objects that are waiting to be in the limelight in your story. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that, and there's never a right or wrong way of telling a story, especially a personal narrative. You have a lot of flexibility. You can make it your own. And I wanted to also share that it is so unique, each one story. And I had these thoughts that I came up with, and I'm wondering if you all have any other examples of uh, heirlooms. And let me share something that I have found to be invaluable. So I also do portrayals of historical characters. I started doing that a few years ago, and my first character was Kasturba Gandhi, and I was I went through a training program that was offered by a non-profit humanities agency here. And while I was doing that, I was desperately looking for material, because we had to do like scholarly research on Kasturba's life, and all that I was finding was mostly things that were written about Mahatma Gandhi, and even there were episodes about Kasturba's life that were coming from, the biography or the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi. And I was like, how am I going to find out, more about who Kasturba really was, not, through the lenses of Gandhi or anybody else. And then I came across a diary that was actually found very late, maybe a decade or so ago. It had been in some warehouse. And you know what happened? That was discovered. And to me, that was the biggest heirloom, because the Kasturba was supposed to be illiterate. And people were questioning, whether she was just Gandhi's shadow, and, because she didn't get a formal education. But this diary established that she could actually write, maybe like at a sixth grade level, but she could write. And she has written in her, a simple way. That particular year in 1933, when she was imprisoned, she somehow was inspired to write her diary, and she chronicled what she did every morning, like drinking coffee and spinning, and simple, just 4 or 5 lines in every page, but that was in her own handwriting. And her great grandson, actually took that diary, and he translated it and he printed it. And I found it, thanks to a storyteller from India who alerted me that it was going to be published. I found it on Kindle. And see, that's what I wanted to tell you, that letters and diaries can be heirlooms. So do any of you have you discovered your, parent or grandparents' letters or diaries, or what they call here? What do they call it here? They don't call it diary. What do they call it, Karen?
Journals.
Journals. Yes, in India we say diary. So yeah, have you come across any of these that have given you an insight into the lives of your ancestors?
Yes.
Yes, good. Share with us.
Yeah, so gosh, I have many things to share, but I don't want to be an oversharer. If someone else who has not shared yet, I don't want to be an oversharer.
No, we still have time, so you can share, and we still have 10 minutes or more for other people. So go ahead, share.
Okay, so my mother kept very meticulous diary journals before she got married, and a few years after she got married. And when my mother was passing away in December of 2004, my family and I found these journals, and we figured that she probably never threw them out because she actually wanted us to know what she wrote. And I have all of the journals in the other room, and they have given me tremendous insight into my mother's life. My mother was a doctor, and she became a doctor when women were not really becoming doctors. And these journals really uncover her deepest feelings about practicing medicine. And my parents had a very challenging relationship, but we never really understood what the challenge was. And we found a diary that my father wrote and a diary that my mother wrote about the challenge of their relationship.
Wow.
And part of the challenge of their relationship was that my father was born in Lithuania, and he had very old-fashioned ideas. He was also a doctor. And he really, although he appreciated that my mother was a very brilliant woman, he couldn't let go of the fact that he wanted a wife like his friends had. He wanted a wife who was more of a homemaker, not a woman who was a professional and brilliant as he was. And he asked my mother, when he asked her to marry him, he asked her if she would give up her medicine. And 3 times he asked her this question, and she said no. But she was so in love with him that finally she said yes, but then after she married him, she realized she never could give up her medicine.
Okay.
So the challenge of that relationship was in the diaries. I've
Oh,
never
wow.
told a story about this. I've never really shared this except right now as they're asking me this. But
Oh, thank you, Sharon. That is
it
so good. So
uncovered
nice of you.
it uncovered a very deep, a deep seated, I guess, feeling that older generations had about women and and being a professional, I guess you could say. So
okay.
it was a very, a deep subject that was in that diary. Someday I might craft a story about it, but you're bringing this to my attention and thinking about your journals.
Oh, that's really, it's so precious that you found that and you could, you have access to that, because sometimes when people maintain diaries, when they die, they want it destroyed. Like my grandmother, the one who gave me this, she also maintained, a diary every day. And somehow when she passed away, my aunt claimed that she wanted them to be destroyed. So they had a bonfire of the diaries, which I feel bad about, because I would have loved to have, gone through those. But this is really nice that your mother, gave you permission to read them, and your dad too. So was your dad also very meticulous about it? Did he have as many diaries as your mom?
He did not have as many diaries like my mother, but what he wrote about in his diaries gave us a deep understanding as to the challenge that they had in their relationship, because my mother was, not only she was a doctor, she was also a very avid gardener and a painter.
Wow.
And he did not appreciate that about her. And in his journal, he wrote, "I wish my wife had smooth hands."
Really?
Because her hands were working hands. They were rough and they were working hands. And that really gave me a lot of insight into my family, because he wanted my mother to have nails that were manicured and smooth hands. But my mother was a worker and she had working hands.
Wow.
And that bothered him. He didn't like that.
And who was a musical one between the two?
Mainly my mother, although my father played the violin. And actually, one of the most precious heirlooms that I have in my family is that when my father was on the boat coming to America, there was an orchestra on the boat. And my grandfather said to the concertmaster of the orchestra, "I want my son to be a doctor and to play the violin." And the concertmaster gave my grandfather his violin.
Wow.
And I have that violin. That violin was then given to my daughter, who was named after my father. And my daughter played the violin for a while. But my father was never a great violinist, but he loved music. He appreciated and loved.
That's wonderful.
And I have his violin.
See, and you have inherited the talent as well as the violin, which is so precious, right? So I'm really, I really love that sharing. Thank you. Sangeeta, do you want to share your story about the iron, or you want me to read it?
It's just a piece of molten iron gifted to me by my partner when we were going to start a family. He took up a new job, and in the job they in the shop they sold iron and steel, and when they had to cut the pieces of rods of iron, these molten pieces would fall off because they had to cut it with heat. And so my partner got me one of those pieces, and it remains as a symbol of the beginnings of the life we started together.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. And this will be something you're going to pass on to your children, right? This is going to be a family heirloom, very unique heirloom, I would say. So this is nice. Thanks for sharing this. And also the picture, it looks very intriguing, Like, I've never seen a piece of iron like that. So, yeah, this is really cool. Yeah, so it brings us back to the point that heirlooms, can be whatever you envision them to be. and they don't have to be, museum worthy objects that are priceless, but they could be something that is really priceless to you, and to be part of the legacy that you're going to leave for your future generations. Which brings me to the other point that nowadays, the kids don't want to inherit very much, right? I don't know if you have grown kids, anyone here. They don't want to collect stuff like we did, right? Manjari, would you agree? Yes. Yeah, you want to unmute and talk about that?
So, my son, whenever he's in San Francisco, like you, and I don't think, places that much importance on these traditions, and he's always been like, yeah, so what? I mean, so why is it so precious to you? But I think somewhere some traditions he will remember, in the sense that we used to have Ganpati celebration at home every year. And that is one thing that when he got married and started celebrating Ganpati, I think that time he must have remembered. I mean, he had childhood memories of, enjoying, calling his friends over, eating sweets. So that is something he remembers. So few things they do remember, because that was customs that were followed on for generations. But no, otherwise all these small things doesn't place so much importance.
Okay.
Thank
you for sharing, because many of us are having the same situation. But I would like to say that, even if they don't inherit, if they don't want to inherit big heirlooms, we can leave them our stories. Our stories are so precious. You can write about these things, and I'm sure they will value those, and they can tell these stories to their, descendants. And I think that, and it's up to us, I think it's almost our responsibility to keep these family narratives alive. And we can choose how we want the story to continue, And Rachel, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I think that if you can't pass down the object, sometimes passing a picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
The younger generation is very much for keeping pictures in the cloud and different records. And I think sometimes the interest skips one generation and goes on to grandchildren.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That sometimes the grandchildren, as they get older, may be more curious.
Yes.
So there's still hope.
Thank you, Rachel. That's really, wonderful. I agree with you. So there are other ways of passing on these memories and these heirlooms and these family histories, not letting them die. So let's all try to keep this going and start writing our personal narratives and telling them as stories. And you will be surprised about how good it makes you feel, as well as how it inspires other people to tell their stories. So, on that note, let me thank you all for coming and being so engaged in discussing this and sharing your thoughts, your wonderful heirlooms, your ideas. And it's been a really rewarding experience for me to be in your company. And I really appreciate this. And I would like to just share my last slide. So that in case you want to contact me, or if you happen to come to the US, if you want to connect with me, I would love to meet you and we can continue this discussion. So thank you all for being
Can I
part
say
of
one
this.
more thing?
Yes, please.
And that is, it has been so rich for me to hear everyone else's stories.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice. And yes, and thank you for staying up so late and being part of this, Rachel. I really appreciate it. And I know it's been, and thank you, Eric, for giving us this opportunity. And I will look forward to more such priceless discussions and storytelling from CSF. Thank you again, and good night, good morning to all of you.
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful workshop.
Thank you, Eric.
I enjoyed it too. This is Reverend Emily.